Radio, inviting you to join me on the road to truth via the path of non-contradiction. Join us each week on Feet to the Fire, a show with the goals of examining a subject matter on its own merits and test how it stands up to the many possibilities found in reality. All without pre-drawn conclusions found in personal bias. No left or right wings here. No pounding the pulpit of ego-driven my way or the highway attitudes. But there are no free passes given either. Answers to questions are important, but equally important is the reasons and methods used to find the answer. The lack of contradiction is the final judge here on Feet to the Fire. Sunday evenings. How do you listen? www.feet2fire.com for more information.
Light up your night with the Kevin Smith Show. Hi, this is Kevin Smith. Join me Monday through Friday right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
This land is yours.
Join host Basima Farhat on The People Speak as she interviews guests from the realm of politics, activism, spirituality, science, and entertainment. That's Tuesdays from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern on The People Speak, an audience interactive program where your voice counts.
This land was made.
Welcome to the Voice of the People with your host, November Hansen.
Good evening, everybody. November Hansen is not going to be here this evening, so I'm going to step in for her tonight. And it will be Joe Montaldo, myself, discussing ufology in general. And I'm Dee Andrew. I'm the Southwest Regional Director for ICAR out of Arizona. Joe, you there?
Yeah, can y'all hear me okay, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good deal. Yeah, I'm here and alive. And remember, anybody listening to us outside, if you want to call us, you can. If not, you can join us in the Pal Talk Auditorium because it's kind of like an open mic night in a way.
Also, if you've got a question you'd like to ask either one of us, feel free to. And anything you want to talk about ufology-wise, feel free.
Yeah, sure.
Joe, one thing I wanted to touch on tonight, too, I know we kind of, harp on MUFON. But by chance, have you had a chance to read the report that MUFON did on the Great Lakes Dive Company and the Kinross Lake Superior thing?
No, I actually haven't. Somebody was telling me about it when was it? It might have been you. No, I think it wasn't. I think it was David, actually. But somebody was telling me about it, and then I ran into somebody in the iCar room, and they were telling me about it, but I never did get around to reading it. And it's just one of those things, and I shouldn't say this, but I really, if I'm going to read anything from MUFON, it's got to be highly recommended. I mean, it really does, because most of the time I find reading anything from them to be a waste of time. But I heard this was different.
Well, actually, I did read it myself, and I was quite impressed. They did a lot of really good investigations. They did a good, thorough job. They found out that the Great Lakes Dive Company website was actually being hosted on a server in Australia, and that the guy who put together the website is himself in Australia as well, and that he had gotten in trouble quite a few times apparently in Australia for faking UFO stuff. So personally, I'm like, you know, like I said, I know we kind of harp on MUFON a lot, but this is one time when I do have to give them credit where credit is due and give them a pat on the back and say, job well done.
Well, no, it's good they actually took a chance and said something was not right or fake. I mean, it's something that myself and you talked about, well, probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 months ago on Wake Up USA. We were discussing that it might have been because if there was something still at the bottom of the lake and the government weren't interested, well, there seems to be a problem. So I'm actually glad to see them do it because that's their job. They're a UFO investigation organization. That's what they do. So that's good. Well, maybe this new guy, you know, maybe he took to heart what I told him in Las Vegas. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, I think, you know, like, they had the resources, they had the people there in the area to do this kind of investigation. Personally, you know, they did the investigation I would have liked to have done if I'd have had the resources in the area to do it. Because they went through and checked for any kind of official records for Great Lakes Dive Company and couldn't find anything. Nothing. And that's what got them into digging even more. And since, you know, you were bringing up the Las Vegas conference, I have to kind of chuckle because you know my feelings about Linda Moulton Howe.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't go into them in detail here, but when she had her little crying fit at the Las Vegas Crash Retrieval Conference, and here she was defending this case, saying that she went in and she investigated the guy that was supposedly their contact, you know, the public contact man, and thoroughly investigate him, and it was a real case, and it wasn't a hoax. Well, we know now that there was another hoax that she has fallen hook, line, and sinker for. You know, I just find it so amusing that she's been caught. I've caught her in, you know, falling for 2 hoaxes now in about a 4-year period, 3-4 year period, and I just, you know, think the woman should just stick to cattle mutilations and leave the rest alone.
Well, you know, eventually she's just going to hate us because every time she runs into it, that's like poor Jaime Maussan. You know, I love Jaime, but every time we run into him, we got to say, look, Jaime, you know, this ain't right, dude. Because, you know, we're not trying to take away from his work because he's doing good work, but, you know, occasionally we see stuff that's just not, you know, kosher, and we got to tell him. But at least he does take it to heart without getting mad. See, Linda Moulton Howe's not like that. I remember when we discussed cattle mutilations on Wake Up, and I told her, I said, well, you know, I'm just not buying it. She was not a happy camper, not even a little bit either. That was the funny part about that. You know, it's like the thing now you hear all over ufology, agree to disagree. Well, that's an ICAR term. That was coined a term by ICAR.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in Linda Moulton Howe's case, I don't think she can grasp that. I really don't think she can. I think she just has to, you know, think she's it. I mean, that's the only thing I can think about it. Because anything more than that is just not true. Because I guess she just needs to be impressed. You know, she does that thing for George Norrie now on Coast to Coast. What is it? An hour a month or something she does.
Oh, she's expanded then.
Oh yeah, because I know when I was listening a couple weeks ago, because I'm a subscriber to Coast to Coast. I didn't say that out loud, but I am. I do listen to them. You know, now that we do radio, I kind of like listen to them and pick up little things, and it helps the station out. But I don't know, guys. You know, I like Linda and all for helping find things, but as a researcher, she's really, really, really lacking. She's just not
a lot of her research is flawed. You know, she doesn't check into the background of the individuals that she's investigating. That's, I mean, like, for example, the other incident that she swallowed hook, line, and sinker was in Brazil, I believe it was, and for the life of me, I can't pronounce this guy's name. Saved my life. I don't speak Portuguese. I'm sorry. But everybody up that's familiar with ufology and abduction and all this, and listeners to Art Bell or what's that other guy? I'll think of him later. there was the case where the guy was supposedly teleported from his bed, and it scorched the shape of his body into the bed sheet and on the ceiling as he, was teleported or whatever, from his bed. Okay, well, this individual has a very, very long history of hoaxing UFO encounters and has a relatively large compound in Brazil that he's trying to get some kind of a commune type thing going down there. And some of the stuff this guy's pulled, I did some research on this guy. And even a lot of the local researchers, in this guy's area says he's a phony. Because he's got a long history of hoaxing this kind of thing. And he even paid for Linda Moulton Howe to fly down there to investigate it.
Well, that's the whole deal. If he paid for her to come down, she probably felt obligated to give him a good report. I don't know. It's like the other day when David sends me this link about these glow-in-the-dark balloons. We were talking about the guy taking all the photos down there by y'all, all the ones that we know are balloons. And
Jeff Willis,
yeah,
is his name?
Yeah, and the thing of it is the press just... Yeah, I don't get it with the press. I mean, what is it? You see these stories get picked up. It's like, what's his name? Yahweh. I caught so much hell the first time I said something about Yahweh being a fraud that it wasn't even funny. But the thing of it is the press seems to pick these kind of guys up, and I don't know if it's because they know it's a hoax or if it's a safe kind of story where they can do it, and then later on, if they have to retract it or it gets in trouble, they can. I don't know. I don't understand that. Because, legitimate claims where, we've told news media a couple times, like when they did the article down here, we told them, hey, look, you want to see a UFO, you go down here in Gulf Breeze, you hang out on these days around this time, you're going to see something. Well, you don't see them down there videotaping, do you?
Nope. Well, and that's like here in the Phoenix area, okay? I don't know if a lot of people listening are familiar with the Phoenix Sites deal. But just last month, let's see, it was like the 12th, I believe, of February, there was, again, lights sighted. There was one of the local TV stations had one of their helicopters up in the air, and he was, videotaping it from the air and saying, well, it's flares. Well, there's a local investigator down here, and I sent an email to him about 3 weeks ago and haven't received a reply back. He organizes a local skywatch around here. And some of the videos that this guy has gotten of unexplained objects in the daytime as well as nighttime sky is pretty interesting. And he used that footage that the helicopter pilot took and says, what they're not telling you is this. Okay, and you can find this footage on YouTube. He's showing down in the lower right corner of the screen, and he's taking it right from, he's got his video camera right on the TV pointing it out as he's playing the tape back and forth, to show you what he's talking about. But down in the lower right corner, there's a cluster of lights that's not in a straight line. They're just kind of random, hanging there in the sky, and then all of a sudden, one of them drops like a rock, just straight down. And then he says, and then another thing they don't tell you about is this one up here. And he points up into the upper left corner, and there's another large light. The guy that was in the helicopter was only talking about the four main ones. And then he didn't even mention that there was a fifth one that I've been trying to find out who this individual is, and so I can get in and interview them or report. So far, I haven't been getting any cooperation from the local news guys that I've made contact with. But they took some video from their front yard, and it showed a fifth light on the left side that would go on and off. And it was right in line with the other four, and then kind of moved up above the 4 and then went from left to right above the main 4, but it was going on and off. Now, last time I heard, flares don't go on and off like that, and they don't break away from the rest of them and go over them.
But no, I don't know. Sometimes these different people make different reports, the way things are researched. You know, I wonder why half of these people do this. And I don't know if news media is always the best thing to report your sighting to. Well, I guess if you want to get famous, it is. I don't know. But there's so many fakes. And, you know, it's like when we're doing public speaking and when we're just out talking to people. And anytime I do something where we hit a large area and a lot of people see it, and I happen to be out in public and someone will start talking about, you know, something they've seen or something they experienced, about 80 people, but you know, this guy's, I really thought this was real and I seen this and it was a fake, so that makes mine probably a fake too, which is not true. But unfortunately, it's kind of the way the world follows suit. I guess it's easier not to believe than to believe, I guess. I mean, for me it's not, but for a lot of people it seems like it is easier to believe that it's not real. And it's, you know, and I think a lot of people, to be honest with you, like to concentrate on the hoaxes. It's like that picture that Jason took down there in Blunt Island, Florida. This is obviously something really strange and really weird. It's 2 UFOs, or it's a portal in a UFO, whatever it is. It's very weird. It's obviously not a hoax. It's a really good photo. It's well documented. There was lots of people there present when we took it. But they don't want to talk about that because you can't prove that it's a hoax. But they would rather take something like Linda Moulton Howe or somebody would do and run out there and grab it. And in Linda's case, I hate to pick on her because she's done some good stuff. I mean, but, you know, she's done some questionable stuff.
Yeah, she's pulled some good ones.
You know, I mean, it's like with Jim Sparks. You know, Jim's a pretty good guy. You know, as far as what kind of contact he is or how deep of a contact he is, if he's even really a contactee, I've only talked to him twice. It's not a call I'd want to make. And in the times I've heard him on the radio, it's been pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much a pat way he does things. So, you know, I'm really not sure what to think there, but at least, you know, she brought him to where we could hear him and talk to him, and if he's real and he's really a contactee, the information he has is a wealth of knowledge for us. You know, it's a really good thing for us. But if he's not, then it did a lot more damage than it did good. It just seems that the press only wants to take the cases that could turn out to be hoaxes. They don't even want to touch the ones that you know beyond any reasonable doubt, regardless what this thing was or what this contact was. You know it wasn't a hoax. They don't want to mess with those. They want to leave those alone.
Well, and then you have the people that think they can get 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, by claiming to be an abductee when they're not. I was reading a section in a book on abductions, which unfortunately it turned out to be kind of a debunking type publication. But in it, the guy that wrote the book was talking about how he was invited to some friend's house for dinner. It was a husband and wife and their daughter that had invited him over for dinner, and he was talking about the subject of abduction. And the daughter, who was a teenager, apparently had done either a lot of reading on the subject or just from, you know, documentaries or whatever on the subject, said, well, you know, I've had this kind of an experience where they came and did this to me and they took me from my bed and all this stuff. And the guy is just sitting there with his jaw, you know, on the table, so to speak. And as she's rattling off all these different scenarios, and then she looks at him and smiles. I'm just kidding you. I've learned all that stuff from reading and other stuff, you know. He says, I'm not an abductee. It's just showing you how easy it is for somebody to fake it. You know, that's part of the reason why we in ICAR have our abduction criteria in the first place. It's like a police department holding out details of a crime investigation, especially, for example, a heinous murder where someone comes in and confesses to it when they didn't really do it. You know, it's how they weed out the nutcases from the real person who did the crime.
Well, that's a good point, because one of the reasons we use that criteria is just so we can do those very things. And, I was thinking, for anyone who's listening to us outside the Power Talk Virtual Auditorium right now, which I can see quite a few of y'all out there listening, I'm going to be in Roswell this 4th through the 9th in July. I'll be doing a workshop Saturday, but that's if you're down there and you're a member of ICAR, and this is really only for members of ICAR that want to be active investigators or want to, maybe work in a state director or a research role. While we're there for this 4 days, there's going to be quite a few ICAR members there, and we're going to actually be fine-tuning some of the abduction criteria for a list of our, for our field investigators and our state directors that are active right now, because we do require a non-disclosure agreement for anybody who works for the organization. So if you'd like to be part and you'd like to come down and see what we're talking about, and even maybe help out with some of the questions and answers and some of the criteria we'll be working through while we're down there, because really after Roswell I want to have a set one that I can just print out for people, so it makes it a little bit easier for the researchers. But it's one of the things that makes our job easier now. I mean, when someone comes in, like right now, someone wanted to come in and call in or join in the virtual auditorium and say, hey, I've had a contact experience, and this is what it was, or this is what may have pertained in. Well, we're listening right off the bat. We're listening for keywords. When you describe an alien to us, we're looking for a particular description. We're wanting to hear particular things. Now, don't take this the wrong way. It doesn't mean we're going to rule your experience out if it doesn't meet these criteria, but we're going to want to know why, which brings up what I was talking about on Coast to Coast about Betty and Barney Hill. We're going to want to know why. See, I made two valid points I wanted people to understand on Coast to Coast. One, I didn't think Betty and Barney Hill were lying, and two, they didn't fit any known abduction criteria from the Greys, the reptilians, or the humans. And at that point, you have to ask why. And there's only two answers to that. Either it was an entirely new kind of alien which simply hasn't been documented yet, or it was a government extraterrestrial experience. But it was one of the two. And that's the reason we have criteria. So when we get things out of the box, we can readily go to certain areas and look, okay, it might be this, it may be this, maybe this is why this is different, maybe it's not. Like with Travis Walton, we know. Poor Travis was simply in a damn wrong place at the damn wrong time. Or, depending on how you want to look at it, he was at the right place at the right time. You don't know because, he might have been supposed to have been there. That experience for him may change one of his children or his grandchildren into leading the way in this in the future. So you just never know why these things happen, but it's a fluke thing.
Well, and speaking of Travis Walton, a lot of people are only familiar with the story from the movie.
It's true.
Fire in the Sky.
And that's sad,
okay.
too. Go ahead.
Now, I have read the book twice, actually. The second time in preparation for Travis Walton having been on the Wake Up show long before you were hosting it. In fact, you remember all of us preparing for that one.
Yep.
And what was portrayed on the movie, it was really good, and fairly factual about what happened to the men that was with him that night that he disappeared. That was very, very well done. But when it got down to talking about what happened to him, that was all pure Hollywood. Every bit of it was pure, simple Hollywood. All right? So my suggestion for anybody who's seen the movie and thought it was a great story needs to find the book. The book is also called Fire in the Sky, the Walton Experience, I believe, or the Travis Walton Experience, rather, and read it. If not, on both the Arizona ICAR site and the main ICAR site, which is www.icar1.com, there's an article in there that I wrote about it for those who don't want to take the time to read the book that explains what really happened to him. That he consciously remembers, because most of the time he was out of it, apparently. He was unconscious. He was only conscious for a short period of time during that 5 days he was missing. They really need to read that, or if nothing else, check out the Fire in the Sky website, because it talks a little bit about what really happened to him. You know, don't go by what movies tell you. If it's a movie based on something that really happened, watch the movie for the entertainment value. Then go do research on what really happened.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of reading and listening to you at the same time. No, your other half, I envy about something he's got a valid point about. But that's because, David, to answer your I am, you have to remember. The Pal Talk Virtual Auditorium only makes a very small part of the listening audience, and a big chunk of the listening audience is probably the first time they've even heard this. So, you know, it's one of the things, and, you know, now I'm going to get off on a tangent, but it's one of the things that's always bothered me about doing ufology. For me, that's why the iCar room is such a sacred place. And ladies and gentlemen outside, because I know we're up over 6,000 listeners right now, the thing about it is if you're listening to us outside, we have a place called International Community for Alien Research, the iCar UFO Alien Phenomena Room. If you really want to hear UFO 404 or Abduction 404, that's the place to go. You'll hear us talk on the radio a lot about it. You'll hear us touch on it, but unfortunately, when we're discussing things on the radio, we do have to remember that a lot of our audience has either not heard this before, or this is, you know, they're just becoming interested in it. So, you know, and it's hard to go from UFO 101 to 404 if you don't know what's in between.
Well, this is true. For anybody who's not that familiar, and again, I have to revert back to the website, on the main iCar site, on the iCar1.com site, or excuse me, no, it's the Arizona iCar site. That's ArizonaICar.com. David did a wonderful, long, history of ufology. We refer to it Ufology 101. And so if you're not familiar with it, go ahead and read that article, and it'll get you caught up on that quite well.
Well, you know, it's like the Chicago sighting. I mean, this is a recent sighting. Now, for me, and I'm not a UFO investigator, I'm an abduction researcher, but for me, the Chicago sighting was kind of cool when it first came out. I was like, all right, we might have something good, but the more I dug into this case, the more disappointed I became with this case. Now, I noticed that no one else out there has even really picked up and done anything. MUFON's kind of left it alone. Pretty much nobody, and really, to be honest with y'all guys, and I hate to say this, with the exception of MUFON, iCar, and one or two smaller organizations, there's really nobody doing any research out there. There's just not. I mean, we were talking about this not too long ago with a group of researchers from another organization, and there's just not that many people out there doing this research, not like there used to be. So I don't know. It's kind of a strange phenomenon in itself. But what do you think about Chicago? I mean, at first it came out sounding pretty good, and then I heard some other reports from some other witnesses, and the craft wasn't the same type of craft, and I don't know. It was one of them cases I thought was going to be good. Turns out not to be so good.
Well, actually, I had did a little research on it not long after the news came out about it, and it found, I forget where it was, that a couple of photographs that were supposedly taken of this object. That later on, one of the researchers, the local researchers there in Chicago, had contact with one of the individuals that reported this sighting and shown these two photographs. They were supposedly cell phone photographs. Showed these photographs to this witness, and he said, "No, that doesn't look anything like what I saw." So that's going okay. So were these two photographs hoax or what? Because one was obviously taken from the window of an airplane, of an airliner. The other one was taken from inside the airport. And from some of the research that we've done, from other photographs and whatnot that have been shown, that from inside the airport was from the correct area for the gate that was cited as where the thing would be hovering over. But the object in the book, or in the photograph rather, was not like what the people who came forward from the airline said it looked like. The one thing, though, I think was really interesting was the response from the FAA. A reporter from, I'm not really up on newspaper names, but the main newspaper there in Chicago, who was doing the research on this, had contacted the FAA wanting to know if you have on record anybody asking the tower about this object. And he said, oh, no. And nothing was shown on radar. Well, he did some more digging and whatnot, and I think he did a Freedom of Information Act request. And that forced their hand, apparently, because they changed their mind and said, well, yeah, a few people did ask the tower about it. So here was the FAA having to do some backpedaling to cover their collective hinds.
Yeah, and see, that's another thing that makes you wonder why they had to do that. You know, you're kind of going, what was going on with that? Why was it? And why did they even mention anything in the first place? Usually this kind of stuff doesn't even get covered or picked up or even discussed in any shape, form, fashion. So I'm kind of wondering why about that.
Oh, well, I think it's because that reporter became very, very popular with the television media. And I saw an interview with him on CNN. I think he was also on Fox News.
Oh. I'm sorry about that.
You know, but this reporter, you know, and I have to give credit to this guy too, because he is a reporter for a very, very large newspaper. Okay, and he had the courage to go out and dig and find these witnesses and correlate their stories and do some digging that would back up their stories, such as, you know, his inquiry into the FAA and the control tower. You know, and it just really surprised me that a mainstream news media guy like that would even take the time to do it. Because usually they just, okay, here's just another nutcase story, and circular file it. This guy didn't.
Yeah, and see, and why? And that's the thing, though. Why didn't he? I mean, why didn't? See, you got to kind of wonder what motivates certain people to do certain things. And is it something they think they can get some quick press on, or get some quick fame on, or is it something they think is legitimate? And there's just no way of telling these days. There's too many people out there that are, I don't know. It's one of the
I think it's, in this particular incident, I think it's because there was too many witnesses.
Maybe so.
That, you know, you had luggage handlers there on the flight line, you know, loading luggage into a waiting airliner that saw it. You had at least one pilot and his co-pilot that saw it, you know, while the plane was on the ground. People inside the terminal saw it. You know, you can't cover something up like that has that many witnesses.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, what I'm really hearing is the different amount of witnesses, though, it seems to be, there's different descriptions from some of the different witnesses.
Now, that I hadn't heard.
That was, well, no, because that's what got me going to, there was, the baggage handler saw one thing, the two guys standing on the tarmac straight across from the aircraft at the same time. See, this is what bothered me. They seen something at the same time, but the baggage handler saw one thing, the guy standing on the tarmac actually saw something else. There was a lady and another gentleman that had seen something while they were standing in the airport looking through the window, and they actually gave a different description. And I was kind of like, but the thing of it is the timing, it was the same time of the day and basically in the same direction. But for some reason, these people all saw something different. You got to kind of wonder what the hell was going on.
Okay, well, now here we go back to ufology 101. Okay? It's not unusual to hear reports of objects changing shape.
Well, no, but when you know, in this case, one of the descriptions was like a saucer or kind of a silver disc type thing. Well, that's not uncommon. The triangle thing, though, associated with the saucer thing is kind of uncommon. Now, the other one, and the guys on the tarmac, and they kind of described it as like an elongated saucer. Now, maybe it was the angle they were looking at it at, or maybe it wasn't. He really kind of described it more of as a rectangular shape than he did as an elongated saucer. He didn't really mention anything about having smooth or round edges.
Well, that's true.
So,
and then a lot of times a saucer, if you're looking at it at just the right angle, can appear to look cigar-shaped.
Well, yeah, depending on which way you're looking at it, it really can. So,
And you got to remember, O'Hare is not a small airport.
well, yeah, and they got a lot of traffic there as well. There's a lot of movement going on, a lot of people buzzing around in the air. But if 3 different people from 3 different locations, and actually I think there's altogether like 7 total that reported seeing this, including witnesses from other aircraft, you have a triangulation on where this thing was. It was definitely inside the airspace of the airport itself. So either it was completely invisible to radar, which is probable, but even then it wasn't visible for the naked eye from the radar tower. And they were scrambled something, and nothing was scrambled. So you have to kind of think, what was this thing? And if everybody's describing it different, it makes you kind of think that either it was one of those projected things the government likes to do, or it was something else. But it I don't know. It doesn't exactly sound like an alien. And usually they don't put their ships in places like that where they could get, accidentally ran over.
Well, if you're going to be right over the terminal itself, you're not going to get hit by a plane because their planes are coming around in the approach pattern in wide circles. Okay, it's very rare that one of the planes goes right over the terminal.
No, you can't, Colin. Get out of here. Just messing with you, mate. I am. Actually, I think I'm on the 800 number, to be honest with y'all. You can try. I don't know. I'll let you know if it rings. Because I think I'm actually on the 800 number right now. I like to use voice separation, especially for me and Dee, because we both have big mouths. And if we're both on the same line, we're liable to blast y'all clean out of the auditorium.
Yeah, those mouths of the south, I'm the mouth of the west.
That's right. And we're still looking for the mouth of the north. But now that Jason's living up there, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Got that part covered.
So we just got to worry about the east side, man. No, Dave, I was just giving you a hard time, man. That's all. But the thing of it is, and for the people listening to us, I am talking to people in the virtual auditorium tonight. So if you're listening to us on the radio and you're going, what the hell is he talking about?
Well, I had to move away from my computer because him talking on the phone was kind of driving poor David crazy because of the lag difference between hearing me speaking in the same room and then listening to everything with his headset and driving him crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't even see my computer right at the moment.
Well, I try not to read text, but tonight I've been kind of reading it as we've been sitting here chatting. And but now, I noticed the other day, I've been hearing people now, this cracks me up, all right? Nobody talking about anything about ufology and, how you say this, dang, I think I'm going to lose my whole train of thought here instead of Well, the thing of it is disclosures. I've been griping for a year now about disclosure is going to come from the contact users from the investigators. Now, all of a sudden, I've heard 3 big-name ufologists in the last 15 days announce this, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, why don't you just bite me for bending me over like that?
Well, speaking of debunking, okay, one thing that kind of irritates me and kind of makes my blood boil a bit. I remember back in '97 when the Phoenix Lights first happened, and later on the governor, it was either the governor or the mayor or whatever, that was long before I moved down here, did this press conference where he's saying, we found the culprit of the lights, yada, 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 and here he is, and they bring in some guy in an ET costume, and an absurd-looking ET costume at that, saying, come on, people, get a life, get real. Well, recently, he's come forward and says Well, actually, I witnessed the event myself. I saw the structured craft that these lights were attached to, and it wasn't flares. Now, if that isn't hypocritical, I mean, covering it up, helping the government to cover it up, and then 10 years later, come back and say, well, this is what really happened, kind of messes with the guy's credibility, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they don't care. You know that.
He's not in office anymore, so, you know, his political career is over. He's got nothing to worry about.
Well, you know, when the governor, when the former governor of Arizona, he's been talking about it. But see, it's one of these things that's been bugging me for a while. Not just him, I mean, you know, it's like the French thing, oh, we're going to make all this documents. You know, it's like when the Russian KGB released those, what, 2 million, 20 million, whatever it was, amount of documents they released, and then the Brazilians, and there's a couple other countries that filed that in the last 10 years. But as far as I can see, it hasn't made not even a little bit of difference.
Well, here's where we get a problem with that, okay? David and I have both been trying to get into the English translation of the website, and can't. I think that's why we're not hearing so much right now about it. I don't know about in the New Orleans area, but here in the Phoenix area, all of the local news stations had a big story about the French putting their documents online and available to everybody. You know, it was big news here, which surprised me. But, you know, what good is it if you can't get into it?
Well, the first 3 days the site was up, I didn't have any problems getting it. Now, I tried to get into it in the last day or two, but I wasn't having any problems. And I think that's because my cookies got registered in the first day or two and gave me access. I guess, I don't know. Because I know a lot of people said they couldn't get in, and I wasn't having any problems getting in. Now, like I said, I haven't tried to access it in the last day or two. But as far as our local media, no, not even one story. Not in the newspaper, not on the radio, not on the TV. And I only seen one blurb on CNN about it, and it was like 15 seconds. I don't know, but it's not that. I mean, it's the information. There's no information that's being given to us by any of these governments that seems to be changing anything. There's no cases in there that, you know, show beyond any reasonable doubt as far as the world is concerned that these things are real. And that's what's bothering.
Well, I'm thinking that, and I'm happen to agree with Paula Harris on this. At the Beacon and Base conference that I went to in, I think it was 2004, she was at the dinner, the banquet they had there, and Stephen Bassett got up and did a talk, and then when he was done, it was like a question and answer thing. And Paula Harris happened to be there, and she asked him, now this was just after the Mexican Air Force going to Jaime Maussan with their video footage of their clear imaging of these 11 objects. And she said to him, what is it with the American government? Can't they get the hint? Mexico, you know, opened the door by doing this, kind of nudging him in the ribs with the elbow, saying, okay, we've taken the first step, it's your turn, you know. And I agree with her on that, that that's what happened when Mexico did that. They were saying, okay, you know, we've opened the door a little bit, America, your turn. Then Brazil, they released their information. Well, some of it. But they've released some of their information. And again, that opened the door just a little bit more. And they're, come on, America, you know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, your turn. And now the French. Okay. Well, no, take the backtrack here. England put all their Rendlesham Forest stuff online. Okay, open the door a little bit more, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Come on, America, your turn. Okay, and now the French. When's the American government going to wake up and smell coffee and say, hey, you know, we've got all this information, maybe we ought to start doing it?
But that's the point, Dave. These countries that are releasing it don't have the information. They have stuff that what they have is the same thing we have. They have cases and stuff they can't quite explain. They don't have the answers. The only two countries I would probably think right now that really have the answers when it comes to ET is us and the Brits. I don't really think anybody else does.
Now, don't leave Russia out of it either.
Well,
Russia was the Soviet Union was the largest country in the world. For how long? They've got to have some information locked up somewhere.
Well, I thought they did, but the KGB swears that everything they had, they released, and they swear, the KGB swears that the conclusion they came to was yes, we think that these are real, but what they're doing or what's up, we have not a clue. And they might not have, because, like that one that was sighted near Chernobyl, the one that landed and spotted legs and walked through Chernobyl. I mean, that thing was even videotaped and photographed.
That's the first I've heard of that.
Oh, no, this was back in, this is...
Back when Chernobyl went to...
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't too long after, maybe 2-3 years afterwards, after they, kind of cemented the whole place down and all. And it was described by a lot of people.
Okay, now, this is where I have a problem with that. Okay, I have my doubts that happened because they evacuated everybody out of there because the radiation levels are still too high for people to live there. There's a website done by a girl who lived, in that part of the world, and her father has something to do with the controlling of how many people, can go in and out of there. And so she gets special permits she's a motorcycle freak. She likes riding her motorcycle around there. And she has done some wonderful documentation on what happened, the effects, what the area looks like now. She's gone through the city that was built just to, show that this nuclear power plant was a good thing, at the time, that is now deserted, an entire city. Okay, and it's not a small city, it's a big city. She's gotten very close to the Chernobyl plant itself and has taken photographs of it. And in fact, there's one on her website where she's holding up a radiation detector that detects like alpha and gamma, I think, radiation. And she's holding it up to where, you can see her hand holding this thing up with Chernobyl in the background. And it's fairly, good-sized dosage coming from that thing still. And all these homes and farms and whatnot that are deserted because of all the radiation. So personally, I have my doubts on that story.
Well, the thing of it is this thing actually was in 3 different cities. It happened I think it was on 3 different nights. And the first night it was in some city I've never even heard of. They said it landed at the end of the city. It was a big silver sphere. It came down and landed at the end of the road, like on Main Street, I guess. Sprouted legs and walked through the city. The witnesses from Chernobyl were actually military, and from what I understand, the videotape was probably KGB. The thing about it is you had 3 different places this thing was sighted with 3 different groups of witnesses, and I know in at least 2 cases there were pictures taken. What it was, I don't know. Whether it was real, yeah, it was probably real. Whether extraterrestrial, could have been, could have not been. The technology looks fairly advanced, but it might not be. It might not be something that we could produce ourselves. I don't know, but it was interesting to read about it. But it was a long, long, long time ago. But that was in those styles. There was literally, if you go sit in this place, what is that, the Pravda paper or the News Media over there, that you can still go find a lot of these old sites.
I'll have to do some research on this. Now you've got me intrigued.
Yeah, it was an interesting sighting. Well, it was on site, on the Sightings TV show. That's where I originally saw the damn thing.
I'll have to check that out. I believe on YouTube they have a lot of stuff, a video deal. I'll have to look and see if there's anything from Sightings on it.
Well,
but speaking of YouTube, for those of you that are computer, internet surfers, try YouTube and in their search bar, just type in UFO. You would be surprised at how many different videos they have. There's even whole documentaries. Actually, Dr. Lynn Kitai's documentary that she is so proud of is on there. It's done in segments, of course, but it's on there. There's a lot of interesting video clips of UFOs on YouTube.
Well, don't let her find out it's on there, because you know she'll be taking it down in the thing. And you guys, we are taking questions in the room. If you want to, just put your hand up. We'll take your questions. If you're outside the Power Talk Virtual Auditorium, log on to Power Talk. Check in the social issues category. You'll see Paranormal Radio Network. Click on the room. It'll transport you in with it. You put your hand up, and we'll take your question, and we'll try to answer it. Right, Dick?
Right. We'll do our best.
Yeah, I know. Oh, wait, look, I got hands up now. What you want to do?
Oh, my.
I guess I shouldn't have said anything. Well, you're the host. I'm just a guest. You get to take the
Hey,
question.
well, like I said, I can't see my computer right at the moment, so...
Oh, all right. Well, guys,
for
look, I'm going to cue y'all in. Okay, Kevin? I know Kevin. I always like to say he's from Canada, but he's not, so he won't hate on me. Kevin, I'm going to go ahead and let you have the mic, so why don't you tell us, everybody, your first name and where you're located at. You're live. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Kevin from Washington State. And November, I know you can hear me, and I know Joe can hear me. But, okay, they take pictures and videotape of all these UFOs and everything else. They turn them over to the police, or the government confiscates them. And that's the last they're ever seen. So, and the people can't get them back. So I think that's the worst thing that a person can ever do, is turn them to the police or the government. They should have a central place where they can turn them in. So what's your comments on that?
Well, Kevin.
Okay, can I say that one, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, Kevin, this isn't November. This is D. Andrew, also known as D. Dragon 8. Number one, that's not always the case. For example, Rex Heflin, who unfortunately died here recently, took a series of 4 photographs in California in, I believe it was like 65, 66, somewhere there. I'd have to look it up. Very, very good, clear, crisp, clean photographs. And they were done on Polaroid film. Now, back in the 60s, it was very, very, very difficult to hoax Polaroid film, okay? The guy was an individual. His job was to go around and find places in the road that needed fixed, or road signs that needed to be replaced or whatever, and he carried this Polaroid camera around with him to photograph these things. And he was sitting in his truck writing up a report on a spot that needed some work. And this was in California, by the way, Southern California. And on both sides of the road that he was on was all agricultural. And this object that looked kind of like the old-fashioned, flat-crowned straw hat with a flat brim, even looked like it had a black hat band on it, tight shape, metallic, and was hovering. And in one of the photographs, you can even see a little dust being blown up or disturbed on the ground underneath this thing. Well, he took 5 photographs, 4 of the object itself, and the 5th one was one that he had took after this thing just started off. And when it started off, it left like a giant smoke ring in the sky. Not many people know about that photograph, but the one in the smoke ring, but there has been others, and I can get into that later. But his photographs were scrutinized and found to be, authentic. They were published in several newspapers, quite a few across the country, actually. And he said that several men came to his house, identified themselves as being Air Force, which I think was unusual considering they were, dressed in civilian clothes, a la MIB, and said, we'd like to use your, borrow your photographs so we can analyze them and then we'll return them to you. Okay, guy being a loyal, patriotic citizen said, sure, handed over the original. Except for the fifth one, the one with the smoke ring. And he never heard from him again. He even, I forget, like a year later or so, he tried calling the Air Force saying, well, hey, where's my photograph? And, what photograph? We don't have your photograph. It's like they knew nothing about it. Well, oddly enough, 28 years later, he gets a phone call saying and there's some woman on the phone saying, have you checked your mail today? And then hung up. He goes, well, that's kind of an odd thing, So he went out and he checked his mailbox and it was empty. And he goes back in the house and almost immediately his phone rings again. And again, a woman's voice comes on the phone saying, have you checked your mail? And hangs up. And he goes, oh, this is weird, So he goes out and he checks again. And in his mailbox is a manila envelope, nothing written on it, no stamp, no postmark, nothing. Just a plain manila envelope. He pulls it out, opens it up, and there's his original photograph. So, yes, sometimes they do come back. A lot of times they don't. Or if they do come back in the case of some footage, sections of the footage is missing. And it's not the original film, it's a copy. Number 3, most people don't turn photographs or video to police. They have nothing to do with investigating it unless it's just going out to go, calm somebody's nerves. The only police departments I know of that do that kind of thing, accept the photographs and videotapes or film footage or whatever, is the French. The French police departments have at least one individual, if not two, that are trained to investigate sightings, trace cases, abductions, that kind of thing. It's the only country I know of that does that.
Oh, wait, we got another question up there. Before we take another, no, I guess we don't. They disappeared. I'm sorry, but, I was reading something, I forgot David had sent me this. It was from, when was it? UFO Casebook? Yeah, the UFO Casebook magazine, and it was your opinion on alien abductions on it. Said a real physical event, 32%, and then psychological event, 36%. Sleep disorder, 22%, and don't know for sure, 10%, and that was out of, I think, 1,840 people who took the poll. That's actually, I hate to say it, it's actually an improvement. 32%, that's pretty good. I mean, only 36% of the people think we're nuts now. We're making...
Well, and then to quote a poll that Stephen Bassett mentioned on a interview he did on the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights here recently, said that one of the latest polls puts it that 50% of the population in the United States believe that UFOs are real. 50%, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, but it should be 100% of people believe UFOs are real. It only means unidentified flying objects. I'm sorry, that just irritates me.
I agree. I hate the term UFO, but that's the one everybody's more familiar with.
NH Ghost Hunter, we're going to take some questions. You're going to have to wait till we come back from the break. We got about a minute and a half before we go to break, and then when we get back, I promise we'll take your questions. Anybody outside, look, I'm opening up my email right now. You can reach me at iCar@Cox.net. I know a lot of people like to email me during the show. I don't know why. I can understand the night you can't call an 800 number, but other nights you can call up an 800 number, guys. And or you can come join us in the Power Punk Virtual Auditorium pop in and talk to Dee or myself. We just kind of chit-chat tonight, talking. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. If you put your hand up and tell us what you want to talk about, we're just kind of crossing cases and different stuff that's going on, things we like to talk about. So I just want to kind of mention that. You want to say anything right quick before we go to break, Dee?
Guys, you know, if you're a skeptic, keep your eyes to the skies. You might change your mind.
Yep, I agree with you. But anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and go to break. Everyone, I want you to please stay tuned to Voice of the People. I'm Joe Montaldo. Dee Andrews with me tonight. November Hanson's out. She's hanging out with her grandbaby tonight. I hope she's having fun. I hope she's listening to it. We'll be right back, so please stay tuned.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time. Who can say why your heart sighs as your love flies? Only time. And who can say why your heart cries when your love flies? Only Who can say when the roads meet that love might be in your heart? And who can say when the day sleeps if the night keeps all your heart? Night keeps all your heart.
Perspective. We all have one. Our entire view of the world is based on it. Welcome to the Unabridged Universe. We invite you to set your perspective aside for a moment and join us on a refreshing journey into aspects of your universe that you may not have noticed from your particular point of view. Let host Jason Wilson be your guide into the corners of the universe you've never peeked into before. Who knows? You may just enjoy it and end up coming back for more. Take a stroll into the Unabridged Universe, live Saturdays from 7 to 9 Central Standard Time, only on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hi, this is James Arthur Yanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio, inviting you to join me on the road to truth via the path of non-contradiction. Join us each week on Feet to the Fire, a show with the goals of examining a subject matter on its own merits and test how it stands up to the many possibilities found in reality, all without pre-drawn conclusions found in personal bias. No left or right wings here. No pounding the pulpit of ego-driven my way or the highway attitudes. But there are no free passes given either. Answers to questions are important, but equally important is the reasons and methods used to find the answer. The lack of contradiction is the final judge here on Feet to the Fire. Feet. Sunday evenings. Live. How do you listen? Fire. www.feet2fire.com for more information.
Light up your night with the Kevin Smith Show. Hi, this is Kevin Smith. Join me Monday through Friday right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
This land is yours.
Join host Basima Farhat on The People Speak as she interviews guests from the realm of politics, activism, spirituality, science, and entertainment. That's Tuesdays from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern on The People Speak, an audience interactive program where your voice counts.
This land was made.
What could you do if you all the things we do? Would you stand up for truth? Or would you turn away too?
Get your dose of truth with the Truth Hurts Radio Show with your host Charles Giuliani, Mondays, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. The Truth Hurts. Ignorance kills.
Thank you for listening to the Paranormal Radio Network, your source for paranormal news around the world. Stay tuned and catch our program list at www.paranormalradionetwork.com.
Welcome back to The Voice of the People, hosted by November Hansen on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. November's taking some time off to enjoy her new grandbaby. Hey, November, give that little one a hug for me. This is Dee Andrew. I'm filling in for her this evening, and tonight we're having a discussion with Joe Montaldo about ufology in general and just going with the flow. So, hey, Joe, during the break, we were talking about, what a lot of people refer to as the education program of educating the public at large at the acceptability of the possibility of UFOs. And again, like you were saying earlier, I hate that term. I prefer anomalous aeroforms myself. But on the different things in TV and in the movies dealing with abductions and UFOs and ETs in general. Oh, sorry, I was just reminded. We've got a hand up waiting.
Yeah, we do. I guess we better take him right quick, and then we can come back and talk about that. Hey, Ghost Hunter, I know you've been hanging up there, so look, I'm going to drop the mic. Why don't you come up, give us your first name and your location, and you're live on the Voice of the People.
Thank you very much, Paranormal Radio. My name is David Smart, and I'm from Exeter, New Hampshire, and I've been studying a lot about paranormal. And I was just wondering, I had a question for you and the guest. The question is, if you had like a ghost in your house and you knew what it was, and you wanted to get more information, like if it was a child or something, how would you mostly contact with that spirit?
That's an interesting question. I tell you what, it's not my field of expertise. I have dabbled in it in the past from time to time. I'll tell you what, though, I have a friend who comes on the internet. I'm not going to give you her real name right now, but her online name is Shakti. If you're really interested in it, Ghost Hunter, why don't you write me at icar@cox.net, and I will forward the email to her, and maybe y'all can get together and talk about it, because that's what she specializes in. Matter of fact, she's not too far. She's not too far from New Hampshire, so she's right up in your general area of the country. She's real good at it. I mean, I could tell you a lot of ways to try to contact the spirit, but I would talk to someone, because I'm sure you need to take some kind of little safety precautions. You don't want to contact the wrong spirit, or get the Ouija board out. Use the Ouija board, conjure up something you might wish you would have left alone. By the way,
may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I suggest Googling for paranormal organizations in your town, and try and contact them. Because again, me like Joe, I center mainly on ufology. But if nothing else, try and see if you can't get a hold of Kat. From they do that Ghost Hunter show on Sci-Fi Channel. They have a very interesting website. I checked it out a couple of times. Might give them a shot.
Go ahead, Ghost. We're going to give you the mic back. Go ahead.
Well, 'cause the thing is, I know what it is. I know Taps. I've been in there a couple of times chatting with him, and I know the spirit that I have here in this home. But the interesting picture, this will probably spook you out. I would tell you the picture that I've actually caught one day on my cell phone. Now, this was very freaky. I have actually caught Satan himself on my cell phone.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's why I don't mess with that kind of stuff, man. I haven't seen Satan on my cell phone. My cell phone's going in the garbage. Okay, I'm going to have to be honest with you there. Matter of fact, that whole cell phone company is going in the garbage. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any comments?
Oh, well, I've had a few encounters with ghost spirits, whatever you want to refer to them as, myself, but I don't consider myself an expert on that, just because, I've had that couple of experiences like that. But again, like I said, the only thing I can think of is contact some paranormal group and see what you can work out with them.
Yeah, that'd probably be the easiest. There's also somebody else, Awakening 35. If you email me, I'll email it for her as well. They specialize in that, man. That's what they do. They're good at messing with that stuff. See, unless I see a ghost flying, a flying saucer, I'm not really be that interested in it. Even though I do live in New Orleans where there's lots of ghosts, see, me and the ghosts have an understanding. They leave me alone, I leave them alone. It's a cool understanding.
Well, if nothing else, we can kind of tie this in with ufology. I read a report here a few years ago that the building that was in 1947, the base hospital at the Roswell Army Airfield, and is now a drug rehab center, is haunted by the ghost of one of the ETs.
Oh, no,
now, whether that's fact or not, I don't know, but it's an interesting idea to ponder.
That is just a strange one in itself. I would probably just leave that one alone. Ghosts and graves running around, making me nervous enough that graves are running around. The thing of it is there's been a lot of stuff that you got to kind of wonder about. It's like with contactees. Most contactees have an interest in the paranormal. A lot of them tend to attract things like ghosts or just weird stuff, dimensional shifts. contact use, I guess, because they're hypersensitive in a lot of areas, just tend to run into these things a lot more, just seem to run into them more. Also, they do tend to have, they have an interest in vampires or dragons, or sometimes both. It's quite common for contactees to really like these things, because contactees are looking for answers that normal society cannot give them. So they're going to go through all the realms. They're going to go from religion to, a whole host of things. They may start out religion and then go into one of the darker arts and then maybe get into New Age and witchcraft. And then they may realize that, the gift is theirs and understand that this is a physical thing, not it's kind of a spiritual thing, it's mostly a physical thing. But, it's a progression, and it makes sense that contactees are going to be attracted to these areas. That's one of the reasons we look in these areas first. But it's not the only place you're going to find them. I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, contactees tend to be in every walk of life. And they don't seem to be exclusive to one or another.
Well, and then you got to consider, too, in the cases of some infection or contactees or whatever you want to call it, everybody's got their own idea. They might think, hey, I've got a ghost in my house. Weird sounds or weird things happening. A lot of people that aren't familiar with ufology and everything that goes with it would think a haunting. That's the superstition coming out, so to speak. Not all cases would be, but I'm saying, there's a possibility that a small number of them are actually ETs.
Yeah, it is a small possibility. Hold on. I'm reading questions as I'm talking to you that just came in the email. To the person that just asked, do I believe ETs are real? No, I don't. Okay. I think that extraterrestrials exist and visit the planet. I do not believe that they are real. I know they are. Okay, it's not a belief system.
I agree with that. A belief system, to me, denotes more of a religious note. This is not a religion. It's research. It's study. It's not a question of belief. It's a question of knowledge.
Now, I was reading this one. This guy, Christopher from Seattle, wrote in and asked about... sorry, didn't mean to do that till you dropped the mic. I know I was looking at something. But he kind of wanted to know, why do we think that contactees are really having, or why do we think that the contacts are real and not some kind of psychological or some other thing? And the answer to that, Mark, really, in some cases, they're not real. Sometimes they are a problem with someone's psyche. Sometimes they turn out to be something else. I have personally never ran across a real sleep paralysis case myself, but I do know they exist. And sometimes we can't explain what they are at all, but the cases that we worry about is that the cases that we get that fit into a certain group of criteria that are happening to people on a regular basis, and it's the same type of experiences. That's what we're interested in. Those are contact cases. The rest of it could be anything, and the rest of it, I would have to say probably maybe 25% is legit, and 75 to 76% isn't. I could be wrong there either. I mean, don't hold me to that, but when you're guessing like that, but I would say probably 25% of what we get is probably real, and the other 75% falls into some other category. And a lot, it could be anything. It could be anything from being abused as a child to having some kind of weird, strange event happen that you just think is aliens, or for a whole host of other reasons that you might think this is an alien contact. But like I said, only about 25% of them seem to be real.
Well, there could also be an underlying medical condition that the individual is unaware of. That's why a lot of times, we get a person into the chat room and they're talking about their experiences, and something about it just doesn't quite ring true. So you do a little more digging. Say, well, what kind of health are you in? Are you on any medication? Is there any possibility of like, for example, one individual came into the room and he said, well, I am diabetic. Well, in person that doesn't quite keep as close as tabs on their blood sugar can go into diabetic coma or even just pass out from low blood sugar. And, you know, it could even be, you know, just something that's going through their head while they're unconscious.
Oh, wait, what's this one? Sabrina from Amsterdam. Oh, Amsterdam. Hello, why don't you send me some tickets? I'm coming over. Well, you're the witch, right? Sabrina Witch, can't you, like, twinkle your nose? All right, I'll be nice. Now, she basically wants to know if contactees are like normal people, can they be trusted, or if someone in their family's having contact, does that mean other people are having contact? I think that's what he's saying. You know, Sabrina, you can log into Power Talk and come put your hand up, and if I'm missing the way you worded this question, you can come put your hand up and we'll ask us live. But as far as trusted, that's like any other person. It's not so much that they're a contact, it's not what kind of person are they. It doesn't matter that they're being contacted by aliens. That, you know, it changes their personality. But I mean, if they're a trustworthy person, even if they're having contact, they're going to still be a trustworthy person. Now, if there's someone in your family having contact, such as a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, yes, more than likely you're having contact yourself if you don't remember it. Because it stays inside the family lines, and your grandmother, your great-grandmother, or so on and so forth, both forward and backward in your family line were probably contacted or probably still being contacted. But the only way you can find out that for sure is pop over to the iCar website, www.icar1.com. Fill out an abduction form or take the question there. It'll be submitted. One of the investigators will pick it up, take a look at it, and go from there. I don't know. What do you think, Dick?
I was just wanting to point out that contactees are just normal, everyday people. Okay, they get up, they go to work, they love their family, raise their kids. You know, they're just normal, everyday people, just like everybody else. And they're in all walks of life. You know, there's a policeman had come forward back in the 70s saying that he had been abducted. I know of a Christian pastor that is a contactee. They're all walks of life. So yeah, I appreciate you can be trusted.
Okay, this David from Arizona email looks suspicious, but I don't recognize the email address. They want to know if we think the Phoenix lights are real. David, let me ask you this question. What do you mean that the Phoenix lights are real? I mean, I don't understand the question. Lights are usually real. I mean, I'm confused.
Okay, well, it's not the David you're thinking of, because he just told me. David, I'm in the Phoenix area myself, okay? I got almost 3 minutes of footage that I personally took myself of some lights. And from the location where I was, over by, I believe it was the I-17, around 83rd Avenue, and what was the cross street time? 83rd and Glendale Avenue, okay? They were too low on the horizon to be flared. For one thing, you know, they were just way too low. We had 5 other witnesses that saw us, you know, pull over to the side of the road, videotaping and saying, "Are you getting it on tape? You getting on tape?" I have their names and everything to back up the story. So yeah, I think some of them are flares, because my husband's been doing a lot of research on, you know, the location of the Barry Goldwater Range and the altitude of the Estrella Mountains and South Mountain, and yeah, I'm thinking they you know, what we got, and what quite a few other people have on tape or photographs are the real thing. They're anomalous aeroforms and not flares. Some of them don't even move like flares.
Oh, wait, I got to address this. Tina from Roswell asking, okay, now Tina, look, no, I think you misunderstood what I was saying. No, I didn't say that I didn't believe that there was a crash in Roswell. What I said was I didn't think the E.T. crash was safe. Okay, no, I just wanted to clarify there. I'll be in Roswell. You can ask me. I'll be in Roswell in a couple of months. But the thing of it is no, I think you just misunderstood. I didn't think that it didn't happen. Okay, I just want to clarify. I just didn't think the exact was. I don't think the official story is what it actually was. That's all. But I don't know.
Well, and then so there is a precedent on what your opinion of what happened. That it was it was an ET craft, yes, but it was piloted by someone right here, from right here on this planet. Okay, the Cash Landrum case, for instance, there is evidence that was piloted by an Air Force personnel flying it, and they weren't quite sure of the controls, and that's how the Cash or Betty Cash, or I want to call it Betty Cash. Oh shoot, I can't think of her name. Well, Cash was the lady that died here a few years ago, and the lady and her grandson that was with them, who the other, Landrum, she still suffers from health problems from it, and so does the little boy. Well, he's not a little boy now; he's an adult man, but he has radiation-related health problems as well as his grandmother. But yeah, there is a precedent that yes, that could have been, what happened. This is where Joe and I, come up with this agree to disagree thing. But personally, I don't agree with you on that one. And we've discussed this for how many years? But I think it was E.T. The two people come forward and described the bodies and described them similar descriptions. So again, this is where we agree to disagree.
Yeah, E.T. on crack that bad, Jeff. I don't know. I'm sorry, I couldn't read it.
Well, that's how the Aztec, New Mexico, why they have a UFO Days thing. Because in the mid-60s, I think it was, somebody's come forward saying that he helped retrieve a crashed UFO somewhere outside of Aztec, New Mexico.
We got Mark from Texas wants to know, do we recommend using hypnosis to recover memories? Now,
I'll be the last resort.
That's pretty much how it is. This is how we do this. An investigator gets in touch with you. They will talk to you. What we would recommend is spending a lot of time with other contactees. You can contact them personally, or you can come hang out in a support group in the evenings, in the daytime when there's people in there and just chit chat. After a while, that usually helps to recover memories. A lot of people have things trigger when they hear other contactees talking. It just triggers things in their head. Now, if all else doesn't work, and it really depends on how patient the person is, yes, we do use it to recover memories, but in a very guarded situation, and we're very strict about the way we do it anyway. It's just the way it is. And that's because we want to be able to use the data as evidence or information. So it has to be handled in a particular matter. But yes, that's pretty much how we handle it. But we will tell you, try every other method first, because we would rather you recover the memories on your own. They tend to be it's just easier to deal with them. Because the thing of it is if you're not ready for this, and someone regresses you and all of a sudden you get this flood of memories of something that happened to you that you're not ready to relive yet, it can do more damage than good. But, only trained professionals and only people we trust and only people we trust is the only way to do it. And we do...
Also, if you do resort to hypnosis, take someone with you, like a brother, sister, very close friend, someone you really, truly trust. That kind of helps you to relax. You know you're not alone with a stranger. Okay. Also, you need to make sure that whoever it is doing the hypnosis doesn't ask leading questions. I would suggest contacting either ICAR or another reputable group that deals with this to get in contact with someone who does do this kind of regression work, they are familiar with it. They're familiar with what not to say when they have a person under hypnosis, because that can contaminate memories, because it's been shown that a lot of times people under hypnosis will make up things to make whoever's doing the hypnosis happy.
Yes.
You know, so I guess that's one of the reasons why we go use that as last resort.
It's just, you got to be careful with this, and we don't want to be telling someone to contact you when they're not. That's what it comes down to. We just want to make sure that you are what you are, and then we'll go from there with everything else. And it works out better this way. This way the information is much purer and less chance of it being changed, but it works. But like I said, it's there. It will be used if it's needed to, and that every tool is available at our disposal these days, and we're going to use it if we need to recover information. But, contact either.
Then too, if you've already got a conscious memory of a contact, sometimes hypnosis can help bring out more detail.
Now that's where hypnosis really seems to do the best. Is when a person is having these images or these visions or these dreams. That's where hypnosis seems, because it can clarify it. It can help get a much greater amount of detail out of it. And it's not the same as going in and getting somebody to remember something they have, and this is something they're remembering. This is just kind of like having a magnifying glass that you can focus in on it better. Because we're looking for the particulars. That's what we're looking for, ladies and gentlemen. We want to know, do they have fingernails? Do they have claws? Do they have nubs? Do they have noses? If they do they have hair in their noses? Do they have ears? Do they have eyes? Do they have eyebrows? Do they have eyelids?
Basically what you would ask is, well, give us a good detailed description of what they look like.
And we want to know,
and let them go from there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But once you have a person who has, like if someone comes in and is talking to us and they're saying, okay, I'm having this particular experience with this gray, and they're picking me up and they're taking me to this room, and they're hooking me up to this, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. The person only has, they can remember this fairly clearly, but they're not getting any good details out of the, they know it's an alien, but they're not. It's like it's kind of blurred or something, or the instrumentation seems to be a little blurred, or some of the other procedures seem to be a little blurred. That's the things where hypnosis can really help to really clear up what's going on. But you still have to get them to describe it. You can't say, well, was that an alien standing here? Can you tell me what the image you see before you can give me a description of whatever it is that's standing there, and let them describe it. You don't even have to say it's human or alien. You just want them to give a description in their own words. And then once they give the description, you can actually ask questions from the description to get more details from that point. It's cool the way it works, actually. It's good for that kind of stuff. As far as, like I said, as far as going in and recovering memories, we just don't like to do it because you never know what you're going to recover. And you never know when you're going to run across a damn mill lad that's been tapped. And I don't want to be the one responsible for popping government caps and having them running around doing crazy crap. Well, that's the truth of the matter, and every now and then you're going to run into that. Unfortunately, some of these cases of military abductions are not. I think, well, you know what? Maybe we should rephrase. I'm going to have to talk to Melinda Leslie about this. Military abduction is probably not a true statement. Black ops abduction is probably closer to the truth, and I don't even think that's what it is. I think it's some special group somewhere. But I don't think it's. I don't actually think it's the military per se. It's like there's a military presence at Area 51, but we know it's not run by the military. And we also know at Pine Gap there's a military, but it's not run by the military. When NSA runs Area 51 and CIA runs, no, I think you got it backwards. CIA runs Area 51 and NSA runs Pine Gap. I don't know. I might have confusion. But I know.
Yeah, I think they used the Kelly Johnson Skunk Works as a cover.
Yeah, and
in Area 51.
It's just, I know that, these kind of programs are never handled officially through the military because then the government can be held responsible. But if they're going through a black ops program, well then, or through one of our security agencies who seem to be given carte blanche, they know they can't, which I guess, and they really need it, because, in some ways, security agencies make me really nervous, but in some ways, they make me really happy. Because they are keeping American secrets. Now, granted, yes, it does tick me off that they're not telling us that ET is real and they're visiting. But in the same aspect, I'm happy that they're not telling other countries how to build an A-bomb. We're giving away technologies that later can come back to bite us and you know what. So it's kind of you damned if you do and you damned if you don't kind of thing.
Yeah, but then I kind of have problems a little bit with Melinda Leslie. Okay, I know I've never talked to you personally about this before, but when I attended her lecture at the X conference, she was describing Navy uniforms, or saying that they were Navy uniforms. She even had a catalog showing this uniform. I personally did 4 years active duty in the Navy myself, and I know you have too, Bill. I have never, ever seen a Navy uniform like she tried to tell me was a Navy uniform. It just didn't look right. I mean, I've never even seen on a recent news deal or movie or whatever that shows, you know, Navy uniforms. I've never seen that particular style Navy uniform.
How did she describe it?
Pardon?
How did she describe it?
She even had a catalog, a uniform catalog. It was kind of a khaki color. It looked more like a World War II era Army uniform, dress uniform, than it did Navy. It was an ox khaki color. And the only khaki color Navy uniforms I know of were for officers and chief petty officers that was a working uniform, not a dress uniform.
Yeah, they had the ones for the warrant officers that were one shade darker than the ones that the chiefs and the officers got to wear, but they weren't that much different. I mean, they weren't really noticeable. They were just slightly different in color, but that was it. It's pretty much the same uniform.
Well, this was a long sleeve jacket, kind of like a dress uniform jacket, with the pants and a khaki shirt and a tie.
I know, I'd have to see it. I don't know, that's kind of weird. And I don't know, why would you think it was a Navy anyway? Most of the time when you see khaki, you're not going to think Navy anyway, unless you see that cap they're wearing, you know, unless they're wearing some kind of Navy insignia somewhere.
Well, it had the gold leaf thing, you know, on the bill, you know, what we used to call scrambled eggs.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd have to see. I don't know why she would just, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to know it was Navy, and that's just strange. I'll have to ask her next time I talk to her. And, you know, I like the idea that Melinda Leslie broke out the NOAD thing. I don't exactly agree with her on a lot of things, and me and her have talked about this on a couple of occasions, and I noticed, after talking to her for about 6 hours on 2 different phone calls, I know she did change a lot of the stuff she was doing, and I noticed when she was helping with the name of this book, they changed some of it as well, which we don't give credit for, but at least it got changed. The thing about it is, though, is she did take the time to get it out there, but I don't think she has the ability to take it any further. And I really think it's going to be more left on organizations like this one to take it to the next level. And then we got to make that choice if we even want to get involved in those kind of cases, because, you know, let's be honest, military abduction cases or government abduction cases, how involved do you want to be in these things? And by the way, I forgot the person's name, and I'd have to go back and check the email, but about how much does the government know?
Oh, good question.
From personal encounters and the way they harass particular investigators in particular cases, I would say they don't know all that much more. Well, I would say they know about 2 to 3 times as much as the average contactee maybe stays awake in 15 or something. But as far as some of the more advanced contactees and some of the more advanced investigators, they may know as much. They may know a little bit more. They may know a little bit less. I'm not sure, but it's real close right there, because they seem to be striving for the same answers that these investigators are working on, and it does seem like they do run into each other from time to time while this investigation work is going on. So it makes you have to kind of wonder that, yes, government knows a lot, and the government does know their hand, or probably know more about their technology than any of us do, but for the reasons, the actual true reasons for contact, I don't think they know as much as we do, guys. So it's kind of a strange thing. You know, in some ways they know more than us, but in some ways they know quite a bit less than us. I hope that answers our question. What do you think? Do you think they know more or less than us?
I think they know more. I mean, personally, I think that there is, now this is just my opinion from my own research, okay, that our government has had contact, that they have some kind of a working relationship with one species, or at least one species of ET.
Yeah, probably three.
And I'm not going by Charles Hall's story, because I have a lot of problems with Charles Hall's story. I just got done recently reading all three of his books back to back, and I'm having some problems with it. Because even in the first book, he says that this is a story of my own personal experiences. Some places and people and events are fictionalized. You know, so it's like, okay, what's the fictional?
Yeah, what's not?
And what isn't? He makes himself out to be some kind of hero, claiming, well, in the book he says he's rescued, well, towards the very beginning of the book he claims to have helped save 4 F-104s, a little bit further into the book, 2 airliners, in another book, another couple of F-104s and a Navy plane. You know, it's like, okay, his writing isn't all that good. It kind of reminds me of like maybe a freshman in high school trying to write a story. He uses the exact same wording for descriptions of the Paul White every time they make an appearance in the story. He uses the exact same wording to describe them, like how many times can you use the exact same description? He does the same thing in describing the jumpsuits that they wear, and a light that emits from these suits. You know, exact same wording. And countless times in all three of these books. So, like, I have difficulty with that, so I'm not using that as my basis for my opinion. It's just research that I've done in the many, many years I've been doing this, you know, before his books, before I ever even heard of Charles Hall's books. And I think it's kind of humorous that a lot of people refer to me as the Paul White. You know, even Richard Dolan refers to me as his favorite Paul White, which, you know, makes me laugh. You know, I mean, come on, I'm 6'1", all right? But, you know, there's too much evidence that, you know, if they're not, our government isn't working with ET in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, I don't buy that. I think they are.
Oh,
I really do.
I think back in right before, a couple of years before the Roswell crash, that we tried to deal with them, with probably all three of them, probably with the Greys first, but we probably tried to deal with all three of them. But you see, that's what I was saying earlier. I think for technological reasons, I think the government knows a lot more than we do. But when it comes right down to the actual agenda, I don't think they know as much. I think they know what the aliens told them, and that's all they know. And I think that's the whole reason. See, there's no reason for them to abduct contactees to learn technological things, because they have a working relationship. The only reason the government would want to take a contactee is find information on the aliens themselves, things that they're doing and what they may be doing, what they may be looking for. That's what our government's interested in, and that's probably where the contactee knows more than the government. If they're trying to figure it out just like we are, or they wouldn't bother abducting abductees. That's what it comes down to. They wouldn't bother abducting a contactee if they knew everything. So that tells us right there that Uncle Sam is looking for answers just like we are. But when it comes to the type of craft, technical issues, species of aliens, they know way more than we did. They've had working relationships for, 40 years, 50 years? They know way more. It's just I don't think ET has any intention on telling them why they're actually here. And that's probably what they're looking for. Then there's a lot of rumors for why they may be here, where they may not be here. They might be here to love us and kiss us and hug us, and they might be here to destroy us. They might be here just watching. They might be here on vacation, or like Stan says, it might be their favorite honeymoon spot on the planet. I mean, in the galaxy.
Just be a tourist information for ET. Yes, visit Earth. Look at the crazy inhabitants, and they kill each other. They hunt the animal. They destroy their environment.
So, for us, we judge it by action. Action suggests, okay, they're not really here to enlighten the planet. Because if they were, they would have done that over the last 6,000 to 10,000 years they were visiting, and they haven't. So they're not here to enlighten. They're not even here to unite us as one species, or they would show themselves, and we would instantly unite as one species. So they're not even here to do that. But in the same aspect, they're not here to destroy us or to take the planet over per se, because they could have done that 6,000 years ago when there was only, 50, 60 million of us. Now there's 6 billion of us. There'll be a lot more mess to clean up this time, and we have a lot stronger and nastier weapons. Maybe we can't hurt ET, but we can sure hurt the planet. So, they're not really here for that so much. So what is it that they're here for? Now, we know they've been doing genetic experiments pretty much the entire time. We know a lot of different types of experiments that they've been doing, not just physical experiments either. We know they've been running a gamut of emotional experiments, a gamut of psychological and psychic experiments. So, they seem to, we could say they were here to study us as a species, but let's be honest. 10, 11,000 years, they could have pretty much studied everything there is about the species many times over. So they're looking for something, they're creating something. And whatever there is they're creating at least has something to do with us. And a lot to do with them. I guess that's what we got to figure out.
Here, I have a question I'd like to ask you.
Sure.
Out of all the cases that you've either read about or investigated on your own, because I know you've been doing this for a heck of a long time, okay, what case has intrigued you personally, as a person, not so much as a researcher, but you as a person, has intrigued you the most?
I actually have to say that would be the personal cases. The family cases where it involves 4 or 5 family members, like with Linda and the girl. Those cases intrigue me because I have a whole generation, several generations sitting in front of my face that are having contact. And those cases are hard to get by. And I think there's 5 or 6 of them, maybe 7 of them, that I deal with on a regular basis, and a lot of them come hang out in the I-Car room as well. These cases just intrigue me because it's a simple matter. It's like you can look in the past, the present, and the future just by talking to one group of people. And then when you have another group roughly the same size or bigger that you can compare it to, it just gives you a much greater understanding of what ET is doing and how they're doing it. And those are the cases that fascinate me, even though there's some really good cases out there that are just interesting as all hell. Betty and Barney Hill used to fascinate me until I decided it was a, whatchamacallit conversation. And then it still fascinates me, but it's in a different category now. It's not in an alien abduction category anymore. But it still does fascinate me, the simple fact that it's done when it is done. Me and Stan's going to bump heads on this soon.
Oh, we love Stanton.
Oh, I know.
He's a man. He's the man.
Thank God he's he's more hard-headed than I am. So, he'll knock me out probably when I bump heads with me. I love Stan too. He's great, but he's pretty firm on Betty and Barney Hill, and it did bother him though when I said about how come they seem to be different and all. That kind of irritated him. I'm like, damn, he's got a point.
It will be interesting to read his book on Betty and Barney.
Well, yeah, and it's a shame, too, that this didn't come out before the book was finished. It really is, because I was talking to someone the other day who's a friend of the granddaughter, the niece, whatever she is, and we were talking about this, and this would have got brought up in the book if it would have been addressed before the book was released. Because it is interesting, and it does make it think. Even they got kind of thinking now, well, wait a minute, because it's a valid point. The case just spans way out. When you start talking about needles and drugs and stairs, and there's a lot of physical things that you just don't hear in an abduction case. And
well, and then also what a lot of people don't know is that Betty claims that he had a lot of contact
afterwards. Yeah. And that's the thing. She had a lot of. She got contact then, and then she had a lot of contact afterwards. But as far as she knows, no contact before. Which is really, really, you got to kind of stop and go, wait a minute. Especially if you're an abduction, you really got to kind of go, wait a minute. Not the unreal possibility if Barney would have been having experiences all his life, but neither one of them not having experiences all their life.
He died he died within a few years, after that. Within like 10 years, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it might have been a little bit longer. I'm not sure. I have to go look, but maybe a decade, yeah. And I don't know. The whole thing was very, very strange. For years I've always like, well, everybody says it's an abduction case. It has to be, but when I really went back and sat back and finally got to hear the regression tapes again and really got to listen to what was being said, it just sounded more like a military case than an abduction case. The epidural, which is something we use in standard technology today, but for 1962, this would have been very advanced stuff. But it wouldn't have been
wait a minute. What epidural?
Oh, whatever you call them. It's the needle through the belly.
That's not epidural. An epidural is an anesthetic administered
in
the
the
spine.
back. Yeah, I always get them confused. Amniocentesis, I'm sorry. I do get them confused. But the amniocentesis today is standard procedure. 62 would have been advanced technology, but it wouldn't have been alien technology. In all the cases I've investigated, they don't talk about that. It's not that they don't get drugs in the stomach and stuff, but it's not with needles. It's much more sophisticated, and it's something that we just don't have yet. It's not like a laser. It's a force that physically can open and close things without any loss of blood or any mass or anything else. It's like, I guess maybe it's like a transport or something that can change matter, the structure of it or something. But it's not very advanced stuff. But it's not a needle and it's not a laser. It's not human technology. What Betty was talking about sounded like human technology. It did not sound like alien technology.
Well, and then she was saying, that it was hurting her. She was crying out that it hurt her.
Yeah.
And she said that I'm going to use her terms, that the alien had told her, was very surprised that to her it was painful. He said it shouldn't. And then he looked her in the eyes and I guess kind of like hypnotized her or whatever, and the pain went away.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. And but she'd often talked about being on drugs and being groggy from drugs. And all the cases I've investigated, I've never had a contact you tell me aliens put them on drugs, ever. So that was kind of like the first stuff. Now I've had no labs tell me about being drugged up, but not contact you. So for me, those two alone were enough to say, okay, there is no way. And then the stuff about the stairs. Now, it's not that I haven't heard contact you describe the outside of ships, or even going in and out of ships, but I've never heard them describe walking up a set of stairs like that. And that really bothered me as well. And then, there was some other stuff that bothered me too. So it's just one of those cases that, I would have liked to have left it alone and said, okay, it's an alien abduction, and just left it there. But if I'm going to be an honest researcher and look at it from an objective point of view, then I have to stop and think, okay, this particular case does not fall within the abduction criteria. Why doesn't it? And when I look at it and I say, why doesn't it? Because it appears to be a military abduction and not an alien abduction. And it doesn't mean the aliens weren't present. It just means the majority of technology of what was being done was us. And you have to kind of wonder why. Were they the first lab experience? And if they were, why? If they weren't abductees, why would the government even bother with them?
Well, then what's your opinion of the Villas Boas case in South America that happened before Betty and Barney Hill?
You know, I don't know. I actually have to go back and actually read to be honest about it. I don't think I had read it enough to really give an informed opinion. I'd have to actually really go back on it. And there's another one somebody asked me about just recently that I was interested in, but you know, when I went and looked at it, was the human mutilation case. You know, there's 4 of them that I know of.
Oh, yes.
And now 3 of them that I actually researched, they're not have anything to do with it. There's one case down there though, out of I can't remember the name of the city. It's in southern Mexico. That could be alien related or could be government related. There's a facility down there not far from this particular abduction case. And I mean this particular mutilation case. And what was interesting about it is there was a hoax portrayed on some press up there where they had called and said they had had a baby and stuff like that, an alien baby. Well, a couple of months after when this case happened, and what was interesting about it is his landlord and a couple of his friends said he had taken something from the government that was in a jar that looked a lot like one of those little fake alien babies you would see, like a fetus. And you know, they just thought he was screwing around, joking around, but he did turn up good, and he did turn up kind of barbecued and mutilated. But like I said, I don't know what it was, and I can't find out if it was a hoax because there's not enough information to find out. I mean, there's a death certificate on the guy, so that's, you know, so he's dead, but that's as far as you can get on it. And you know, I'm not real trusting of what Lindelof Howe says, so I don't know. But it wasn't a case. But out of the 4, that's the only one I would even consider that might be legitimate. The other 3 seem to be just gags or hoaxes, or that one guy.
Well, there's a story out of White Sands, New Mexico. You know, way back. I forget exactly what year it was. I'd have to go look it up. That supposedly a sergeant and a private were out looking for, you know, the White Sands was where they did all the rocketry testing back in the 50s and the 60s. And they were out looking for one that went down out there, in, you know, on the sand dunes and whatnot. And they drove out there in a Jeep, and the sergeant says, well, I'm going to go off this way, you go off that way, and we'll meet back here, you know, such and such amount of time. And so the private went off over one of the sand dunes, and the sergeant went off his direction, and the next thing he knows, he hears the private screaming, and he runs to where he hears the screaming, just in time to see the sergeant with something, you know, wrapped around his leg, pulling him into a UFO and take off with him. The sergeant ran back to the Jeep and ran back for help. They scoured the area. They could find the private. A few days later, the private's body was found out in the desert and mutilated, and they arrested the sergeant and charged him with the murder of the private. Now, what came about with that case, I have no clue, but, you know, that's what the story was. Now, whether that's backed up with documentation, I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to begin to go look for the documentation to prove it.
Yeah, see, that's some of the other cases are like that, especially some of the older cases. It's just hard to get information. And another, I don't know, 10, 15 years, maybe 20, pretty much like cases like Roswell, Betty and Barney Hill, Allagash, Shag Harbor, even Rendlesham are going to pretty much be these cases because there's not going to be anybody who is alive to talk about it. All the data is secondhand information and stuff written by people, and it's kind of a sad thing that none of them will get resolved before it's over and done with. But unless ET comes down tomorrow, I don't think it's going to happen.
Rendlesham, I think, is very well documented. Very well documented.
It's very well documented, but if there's no one alive to contest or agree, then anybody can say whatever they want, you know. And you know how the internet is. For every one thing you can find right, you can find another thing wrong, or just the opposite, or whatever. That's what worries me 40 years from now, that, you know, people will go, well, Well, yeah, no, that wasn't Roswell. That was some balloons. Just because.
Oh, well, on the balloon aspect, a physicist went down and, he found out the size of the balloons that used in the Project Mogul, which everybody, when they think of, the balloon, Project Mogul being a balloon, they think of just one balloon. And that's not accurate. It was a string of several balloons. And this guy went through and calculated, roughly how big of a debris field a Project Mogul balloon cluster could make. And it was nothing the size of the debris field that Jesse Marcel described. There just was not enough material to make it that big and that condensed, or that dense of a debris field, nor would it explain the trench that Marcel described. There's just not enough weight or large mass to make that kind of a gouge in the ground. Actually, anybody who's familiar with desert ground, it's pretty hard-packed stuff.
Well, Dee, I know we just got out of time, Dee, so we better tell everybody good night.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you for joining with us this evening and for the great questions. November Hanson will be back next week, and thank you for joining.
Yeah, guys, thanks, and we're out of here.
Thank you for listening to The Voice of the People with host November Hanson on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain. W.C. Handy, won't you look down over me? Yeah, I got a first class ticket, but I'm as blue as a boy can be. Then I'm walking in Memphis, just walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel? Saw the ghost of Elvis on Union Avenue, followed him up to the gates of Graceland, and I watched him walk right through. Now security, they did not see him, they just hovered around his tomb. But there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the jungle room. When I was walking in Memphis, I was walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel? They've got catfish on the table, they've got gospel in the air. Reverend Green, be glad to see you when you haven't got a prayer. Boy, you got a prayer in Memphis. Muriel plays piano every Friday at the Hollywood, and they brought me down to see her, and they asked me if I would do a little number, and I sang with all my might. She said, tell me, are you a Christian child? And I said, ma'am, I am tonight. Walking in Memphis, I was walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel? Walking in Memphis. my feet 10 feet off the field. Walking in Memphis. But do I really feel the way I feel? Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain.
Perspective. We all have one. Our entire view of the world is based on it. Welcome to the Unabridged Universe. We invite you to set your perspective aside for a moment and join us on a refreshing journey into aspects of your universe that you may not have noticed from your particular point of view. Let host Jason Wilson be your guide into the corners of the universe you've never peeked into before. Who knows? You may just enjoy it and end up coming back for more. Take a stroll into the Unabridged Universe, live Saturdays from 7 to 9 Central Standard Time, only on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hi, this is James Arthur Yanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio, inviting you to join me on the road to truth via the path of non-contradiction. Join us each week on Feet to the Fire, a show with the goals of examining a subject matter on its own merits and test how it stands up to the many possibilities found in reality, all without pre-drawn conclusions found in personal bias. No left or right wings here. No pounding the pulpit of ego-driven my way or the highway attitudes. But there are